Hello, everybody. My name is Jimmy, and thank you for joining us on today's edition of Good Morning Alberta. Today, we'll be talking with Farmer Greg, a conventional cattle and grain farmer from southern Alberta. And along with that, we'll also be talking to an organic farmer named Larry, who is a cattle and grain producer. And finally, with Thad, a local fitness junkie from Gold's Gym, Lethbridge. Today, we'll be discussing issues regarding sustainable food production, concerns about organic and conventional farming practices, and we will let the discussion begin with the first question for Greg and Larry. I'd like to open with a question that will give us a little insight on each of your operations. What are you guys doing to achieve sustainable agriculture on your farm?
On our farm, our goal is to increase productivity on the land we have while still maintaining biodiversity of the ecosystems around us and on our land. We try to increase yields on the current land without expanding in order to meet the world's growing demand for food as the population grows.
So on our farm, we use minimal amounts of inputs such as synthetic fertilizers or pesticides. This ensures a safe food source for consumers. We are able to produce a crop with limited amounts of resources and low economic costs.
I see both of you follow different practices, but they both seem just as effective for your operation. Greg, can you tell me how your farm increases productivity?
Yeah, we are implementing new technologies which apply fertilizers and pesticides at variable rates as needed across land. So this prevents over-applying and under-applying, which over-applying would be harmful to the environment, so we're eliminating that. And under-applying would cause less production of that land, so we're also preventing that.
Your operation definitely takes advantage of technology. In this day and age, it seems industries need to take advantage of that aspect to succeed, especially with agriculture and the world's growing demand for food. I'd like to give the floor to Larry now. Larry, it is shown in studies that organic farming practices typically produce 20% lower yields than conventional farming. How can organic practices possibly meet the world's growing demand for food?
Organic farming can play an important role for food production in developing countries due to substantially lower input costs and the lack of resources needed. Developing countries typically face food shortages and limited resources to produce food. Organic practices could be the answer to tackle this problem in developing countries.
That's a great point, Larry. The application of organic farming can go much further than the confines of North America. All right, time to turn the table to our local consumer, Thad. Thad, what do you consider to be a healthy diet for yourself?
Well, nothing enters my body I don't know about. I care a lot about my health. I only let the highest quality of food into my body. I try to restrict my diet to all natural foods without any GMOs or pesticides.
It's an interesting diet you got there, Thad. Why do you feel that the natural foods without the use of GMOs or pesticides are better for your body or safer?
Well, one day I was scrolling through Facebook and came across a couple headlines claiming foods with the use of GMOs and pesticides are bad and unsafe. I even read something about these foods having possible health defects. That was enough for me to cut it out of my diet.
That's quite the strict diet you got there, Thad. Here's something I pulled off of Egg Daily. And according to this article, there are 8 registered pesticides that are acceptable in organic farming. Were you aware of this, Thad?
No, I wasn't. I thought organic was free of all.
To better understand this topic, we can have Larry answer some questions on organic farming.
Yes, as an organic farmer, we are allowed to use some pesticides, but these are heavily regulated and must be registered for organic usage. The permeable amount of pesticide residue on the crops must be extremely low as well. We can also use vaccines and a limited number of parasiticides for treating cows.
It seems you take the needed measures to regulate and maintain a safe product. Could you brief our consumer, Thad, a little more on some of your benefits of organic farming?
Yes, of course. There are plenty of benefits to organic farming when compared to conventional farming. I don't have to spread a lot of chemicals or fertilizers, which is less input cost. We help the environment with less field work, which means less driving through the fields, which also means we work up the soil a little less, so there's less soil erosion and less energy being put into our fields. We also are better for wildlife near our fields because we are not harming them with harmful chemicals.
Larry, you have yourself quite the operation. I think I can speak for everyone when I say that both these industries are taking the necessary precautions when considering the environment and proper regulations. I think this was a very beneficial conversation today for all our participants. I think we can conclude that conventional and organic farming both have positive and negative effects related with sustainability and the environment. It's important to educate consumers, such as Thad, about where their food comes from so the consumers on their own can make more accurate and educated choices and break down the many myths related to organic and conventional farming. I'd like to leave the floor now for anyone who feels they would like to speak up.
I'd like to say what we can all gain from today is it is important for consumers to figure out where their food came from and get actual facts rather than just read the headlines. This will help prevent the spread of false information between consumers and producers.
That was a great final note to make, Greg. Thanks to all our participants, Greg, Larry, and Thad, for coming in today. And thank you guys for tuning in. Have a good night.